So this is a 2010 Mercury 15 horse short shaft 4-stroke with electric start. So let's turn it off real quick. So I did quite a bit of work to this engine. New gear oil, new water pump impeller. I cleaned and lubed the upper drive shaft splines and everything. 2 of the 4 studs came out with the lower unit, and so I wire brushed those, anti-seized everything, put everything back together with that too. At first this engine wasn't shifting. It was the lower side that what the issue was, and not the top side, but I got that all addressed and everything too. Went through the carb, new float bowl gasket, new gasket up top, the plunger diaphragm looked good and everything else, so I didn't need to mess with any of that, but cleaned the crap out of the carb and put new gaskets in it, put everything back together again. New engine oil, new oil filter, I put the date on it, a new inline fuel filter, new spark plugs. I think that's it. So this customer's father that passed wired things up weirdly with this engine. He has this cable right here going to the starter solenoid. I traced everything down and stuff, and so basically he has the white is a 12 volts to the solenoid, black is ground, and this is the signal wire to, if you essentially touch these two together, then it should crank over and stuff, but it's not like that. He also has this wire coming to this junction box back here, and I traced everything down, and this is for the charging side of things. So when the engine's running, it's charging, going back to there. He has this battery up here going back to that switch box back there. I'm getting voltage at the battery itself, no voltage on these terminals right here. So I hooked up my battery with these cables that they have hooked up, going back over here to the junction box, and I'm getting power back here. I could plug in this electric trolling motor and get it working and stuff, but nothing to the engine, obviously, because it needs the voltage and everything going to the engine. I'm not sure how, if he just, I don't know what the heck he got going on there, but long story short, I put 12 volt positive on this, negative on this, and then touch the signal wire going to the solenoid to jump it. It wouldn't crank over. I'm getting voltage here when I'm hooking up my jumper box to the system, how he has everything rigged up. Like I said, he got that green wire going to that orange wire, that's the signal wire, to the starter solenoid. The solenoid itself is not working. When I go 12 volt positive to this side of the solenoid that goes straight to the starter and ground, have the ground on the engine block and jump that, or put the positive on that right solenoid connection, I could get the electric motor to crank over. But long story short, the starter solenoid, it needs to be replaced. It needs actual battery cables going to the engine, to the junction box, to get the 12 volts from the battery to the junction box. This battery terminal connection doesn't work, so you basically would have to go straight to the battery connections in here, because this is actually getting voltage down here but not up here. So run these wires to the battery, to the junction box, to the switch box, battery box, whatever you want to call it, and then have battery cables hooked up to the engine going to here for the 12 volts going to the solenoid and the engine block, and then have like a, this is where the push button start usually is at on these engines, but basically you can run the battery cables through here and hook up a push button start through here, and these little wires in here for the charging system isn't really adequate enough, but whatever. So I did a lot of work to this engine. I had to trace down and figure out a whole bunch of crap. Not only that, when I first tried to start the engine, the pull start was stuck out. It wouldn't retract back in, so I had to take the pull start assembly off and apart, lube everything up, put everything back together again, and now that's working like it should. I think that's it. I have the where you can just give it throttle only right now. Put it back. So now I'll go into reverse. There's reverse. Neutral. I'm gonna go into forward. Forward, back to neutral. So everything with the engine is working perfectly fine like it should now. To get the electric start working, I need battery cables. I need to rewire whatever he has going on here and just have like a push button start on the front of the engine. Run battery cables to it, new starter solenoid, new push button, and that should be that with that side of things. So yeah, quite a bit of work, but she's running damn good. Everything's working like it should now.